Okay, so here's today's update on the ugly LC Land Cruiser project. I'm going to tell you what's happening with the engine. I'm going to show you what state we are with the rebuild. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about why I'm doing this project in the first place. Because a lot of people have asked, like, why would you build such an old car or restore such a bad example or whatever? So let's get into it. Let's talk about that. And the answer is, it kind of started with the Ford Bronco. I was really interested in the Bronco. I thought it was an amazing looking car, just a gorgeous vehicle. I think Ford's going to knock it out of the park. But then the prices were announced here. And for the top end car, it's 270,000 dirhams. That's crazy money. It's way out of my budget for what I want to spend on a car right now. But I was looking at a manual basic version. That's what I want, like around 200,000 dirhams. Guess what? They're not bringing a manual. They're never going to bring a manual because there's no demand. They don't want to bring cars that won't sell. And it's the same story for Jeep, and it's the same story for Toyota. Nissan still makes cars, but I'm not into patrols as much. But everybody was saying the same thing. We're not going to build any more manuals. And that's a problem because I like manuals. And by the way, those of you who are going to complain now about traffic, that's your problem. I used to drive a van from Jebel Ali all the way to Deira every single day in choking rush hour traffic. I still have that van. It's still great. And I don't really care about traffic. It's not really a problem. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. Manuals don't bother me. If it bothers you, sorry. If your knees are bad, sorry. My knees are fine, mostly. But I don't care. I want to drive a manual. I drive a Raptor every day. It's a nice truck. It's a good truck. Nothing wrong with it. Still under warranty, but it doesn't quite give me the fizz. You know, I don't really care about it the way I do about manual cars. So I wanted something manual. So if new cars are out of the question, then what do I do? Go used. Many, many years ago, I used to have a Toyota 100 Series V8 manual. Lovely car. In fact, it just gave me no problems. I drove it absolutely everywhere in the dunes. Beautiful, beautiful car. I enjoyed it. And I kept thinking, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I'll go back to a Land Cruiser. So then I started hunting and I found this 80 series. Now, I wasn't a fan of 80s. I'm not a big Toyota guy, honestly. I don't really care that much, but I wanted to make something special. It's an art project. For me, I'm not doing a restoration. I'm doing a restore mod. So I'm making something that's kind of reflects my personality. So it's going to have wild, crazy paint. It's going to have crazy colored wheels again. But it also needs to be mechanically sound, so everything needs to be restored and works properly. So the fact that this car was kind of in bad shape is actually a good thing, because then I can build it up from the base how I like. Now there are people who could say, why don't you buy a better car and then you can work on that? I would feel bad. I would feel really, really bad taking a car that's in good shape with good paint and a good engine and doing what I'm going to do to it. So I am probably not going to start with a nice car. Plus, it's a lot more expensive, and why should I pay for somebody else's restoration? This way, I get to know, and yes, I am a little finicky. I like to know exactly what's going on with the car. Other people have asked me, why are you not doing a full restoration back to factory spec? And the answer is very simple. I've been to the Toyota factory in Japan. I've watched them rolling off the line. Do you know a new Land Cruiser rolls off the line every 90 seconds? That's how fast they make these cars, still largely by hand. Not making obviously 90 seconds, it takes many, many hours and days, but they roll off the line every 90 seconds. So, I don't care. I've been to the museum, I've seen cars, I've seen Supras with like no mileage on them, 0 mileage. I'm not into that 0 kilometer virgin car thing. I'm just not into that. I like cars that have history and patina. If you've ever watched videos from a guy called Jonathan Ward, who does icon restorations in the US, he likes to use the word patina. And that's what I like. I like a car that's good and runs properly, but I also like a car that's lived. And that brings me to my final point. I don't really want to buy a new car again. Yeah, I don't want to buy any more new cars. I've bought a lot of new cars dutifully. Every 3 years in the last 10 years, I've bought a new car. I've sunk money into it. I've enjoyed them. And I will continue to follow and write and talk about the new car market. But honestly, I'm not into new cars that much anymore. I would much rather take this as an act of recycling. I want to recycle this car and make it into something that runs again. So what do I mean by recycling? I think we're quite wasteful as a planet, we're quite wasteful as a species. And I'm not going green, I'm not saying I put electric motor into this car, but I want to take something that's used, put a little bit of money into it, a little bit of money, and make it live again. Otherwise this car would just be scrapped. It would just be abandoned. And like any sort of like an animal, I don't want to see it happen to that. Obviously, I don't want to see it get scrapped, but I also don't want to see it wasted. The parts are there. Let's use them and let's get this car back on the road, running properly, legally, So everything obviously with emissions and all that will be absolutely fine. But I think we should recycle cars. Why aren't we recycling cars? Why do we keep buying new cars? There's so many good used cars out there that have lots of life in them. You will save a ton more money overall. Obviously, there won't be the absolute hassle-free nature of buying a car with warranty. Things might go wrong, but you'll spend less money in the interim. You can do other stuff with it. I would rather take this car and go adventuring, go exploring, finding mountains and trails and deserts. And that's also my other thing. I don't really care about dune bashing anymore. I've had the Raptor, I've had my really modified Ram. If you've seen that car, it's a great car. I don't want to climb dunes anymore. I've done that. Doesn't excite me. So now what I want to do is explore. And for that, the Cruiser with triple lockers and big tires is going to do what I want. So finally, for the meat of why you came here in the first place, what's happening with the engine? Okay, so took it out of the car, took the gearbox out of the car, and this is where everything could have gone pear-shaped. You'll find out how bad things are, what you've actually bought. And the answer is fairly good, actually. The block looks good. There's a little bit of corrosion on there, but with a wire brush, they'll get rid of it. Generally, it just needs to be surfaced. So what they've said is it's worn out because it's got 500,000 kilometers. 500,000 kilometers. That's a lot of trips, man. A lot of trips for 25 years. But it's not been abused. It's not been broken. It's not been overheated. So all we have to do is put new valve stems, piston rings, resurface the top of the head, basically machine the block, put everything back together. Oh, and the pistons are gone. So the pistons are all blackened from use. And you could clean them up, but it's a 500,000 kilometer car. Let's simply put new pistons in from Toyota, and then after that we're good to go. And some of you might be wondering, how much longer can this engine live? Well, that's quite funny. Land Cruiser engines are built for a service life of 1,000,000 kilometers. And I've personally seen engines with 1.2 million kilometers running around just happy and fine. If you've seen Camrys on Dubai's roads, they're running 700,000-800,000 kilometers, absolutely no problem. And a car that runs every day probably runs well. So 1,000,000 kilometers means I'm exactly halfway through the life of this Land Cruiser. Some other fun fact, the Land Cruiser engine designed to be rebored, the cylinders cleaned up and machined and used again 3 times, every 300,000 kilometers. So we're probably overdue for a rebore, but on the other hand, we're good to go. We've got half this engine's life left. And when that's done, what happens? I'll put a V8 in it, or I'll do something silly, or I'll find a new engine. I'm sure you'll be able to find new engines. These 1FZ motors are pretty tough. So overall, things are going well. The engine is in good shape. It won't take us that long to put it back together again now that we've ascertained the condition. It just needs to get done. The other thing is the gearbox. We've taken automatic out. We're trying to find a manual. I don't really know if we can find a good manual. It's been a bit tough actually to find a clean manual. Trying to find a full donor car and just swap everything from that rather than ordering all the parts individually, which you can do from Toyota, but it'll take some time and you just don't know what you'll need. So it's better to take a used car, clean that up and whatever and finish it all off. But that's one of the other things about this project as well. I kind of wanted to tell people that this influencer world is not that easy. People will say, just give it to garage and ta-da, it's all done. It's not easy. Building a car is not easy. One that you care about, not one that you don't care about. You can just go to a dealer and buy a brand new car. But if you're building a car like the way you want it, or restoring it, there's a lot of heart and sweat and soul and tears that goes into these cars. And if you really care about it, it takes time, it takes effort. There are setbacks. It costs you more than you thought. This is going to cost me more than I thought. But at the end of it, you're going to have something that every nut and bolt, every scratch, where it's come from. That appeals to me. For me, I want to care about cars again. This Cruiser is the first car that I've cared about in a long time. That's the problem. I need to have an emotional connection to my cars. Otherwise, there's no point. I don't care. And new cars don't do it for me because, again, it's just a rat race. I want to get out of this rat race of buying new cars. I've been doing it for 10 years. And manufacturers say, here's the new Bronco, here's the T-Rex, here's this, here's that, buy. They don't care about you. They just care that you bought the car. And they might care about the social media post but they don't really care. All they care about is making sure you buy the next one. Buy the T-Rex 2, buy the Raptor 3, the Raptor 4, the JB Wrangler, whatever it is. I'm getting off that rat race. I want to recycle cars. I want to bring something back to life. It may be a waste of time. It may be a waste of your time for having watched this for God knows, I don't know, nearly 10 minutes. But I hope you understand where I'm coming from and why I'm doing this and why I'm crazy enough to do this. And hopefully you applaud me and support me while I do it. If not, it's going to be a very long, lonely road. But either way, this summer, we are going to make a car. Thanks for watching. The next update will hopefully be in a little while. It's going to take a while because once the engine gets done, we have a mobile car that I can actually use again. So hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be behind the wheel of my manual converted 1996 Land Cruiser. And that feels like a nice thing to say. Thanks for watching.